Well, the body's on. That was really sketchy. Even my wife came out and went, "You're on your own." Well, it's the next day, and this thing's all dried up. And you know, it's gone that horrible orange again, like it did in a previous episode. But we can get rid of this by putting some clear coat on it. I got a little bit less than a litre in here. Hopefully it's enough to cover this thing. Well, there we have a first coat of clear on, and you can see it's totally changed that colour. Now it goes on white, like I mentioned once before, and that should dry off to a clear finish. Didn't do this door. Don't think it needs doing. I didn't do any rust effect on that door, and that was clear coated once before. So there's all the front section there, all the roof done, just in some really random brush strokes. And we'll leave this and come back to it a little bit later. Well, it's been a little over an hour and most of this paint's dried. There are some bits that haven't, where I've laid it on a little bit thick, like in here and always in the little corners and edges. That'll just take a little bit longer to dry, but I'm really happy with the result. I love the way the roof came out. And if you look through here, you can't even really tell that I haven't painted this door. I'm going to let this dry for a good day or so before I put a second coat on. I haven't even painted this door. I did do just a little bit through here. But yeah, you can't really tell. You can't even tell the blend I did through between here and here. Something I really like is this little run through here, the change of colour. I don't know, it's kind of strange, but I like it. I did it also around the back window here. You'll see it's darker right here, all the way around, but it kind of suits it and looks okay. This whole quarter panel I had to redo, or B panel. Anyway, like I said, let's leave it for a day or two and I'll give it a second coat. It's the next day and the sun's out, it's beautiful, it's nice and warm, and this has dried up really, really well. All the little bits where it was thick had sort of dried completely clear. So I'm thinking I'm going to put another coat on it today while the sun's out. I'll leave it for the day and let it dry, and maybe we might even get this on the chassis tomorrow. Well, that's it. Another whole coat. I'll let it dry for a whole day and we'll check out what it looks like tomorrow. As you can see, it's all unmasked and finished. It turned out really, really well. I'm loving all this through here, the way it's dried. Yeah, I really like that. Just through the roof. And I did repaint some clear on this door, you would have seen that. Just to make it all match with the sheen, I guess. Not that there's much of a sheen at all, but just to keep it uniform. There's that back section. Yeah, that's not the best, but it'll do. Again, I really like the back of this, and I really like the top of the doors just here. Turned out really, really well. I like the fact that I've got one green door with some yellow fading here, or well, the green's faded over the yellow. That's looking really, really good. I'll put this to the side for the moment and work on that chassis, and we'll try and get this body on the chassis. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is put these elliptic springs into the back of the chassis here so that we can put the rear diff in. But before I do that, I need to get this chassis down on the ground because those springs go into a hanger in the back here, which yet needs to be bolted on. So I'm going to get this on the ground and on some stands. Just like that, we've got this chassis up on some jack stands. Well, this next step should be relatively easy. It's a matter of just picking up this spring here, popping it in this saddle right here. Before I do that, I might just put a little bit of grease on the edges here. Yeah, more filthy grease. Now I've put a decent amount up in there, because it's metal on metal there on this edge here. And these have a greasable bolt or pin, whatever you want to call it, that runs through it as well. And that also has a grease nipple on it. But I'd rather too much than not enough. I'll go put a little bit on the other side. Sounds like we've got a chopper over there. Alright, that should be enough grease on that. Let's get the front parts or the front bolts in of these springs. Just let me wipe my hands first. Wants to go in. There we are. I'll just give this thread a little bit of a wipe. Now I'm even thinking of putting a bit of anti-seize on this. I don't have the original castle nuts, that ran the castle nut and a split pin, but I do have some nylocks. I hope I'm doing the right thing here, but I really don't want them to bind in case I ever want to remove them. Yeah, I might put a little bit of anti-seize on that. I've got a little bit of this thread paste here. I'll throw a little bit of that on. Not much, but just enough so if I ever want to get it apart, I can. I hate for it to kind of gallop on that bolt. I mean, the bolt had some funny things going on with that thread as it was, and I ran a die over it just to fix the thread. Right, 3/4 on the back and a 7/8 on the front. Or for the metric people, 19 and a 22. Now, I can't use the ratchet part of this on the other side because it has like a knurl where it's going to pull into the chassis there and it's going to stop it from undoing on this end. I've done that reasonably tight, but not too tight. And I'll show you how that bolt's pulled in. So that bolt here has pulled all the way in. If you look at the other bolt on the other side, you'll see that knurl. All right, time for me to do the other side. Now the next thing to do is put these spring hangers up into here. I had to pull these out so I could get it on the rotisserie. I've gone and put some brand new bushes in here. I actually put brand new bushes in the springs as well. I did that before I painted them. And they're supposed to slip in here. And they were pretty hard to get out. So they might require a bit of hitting that. Actually, you know what? It's going in. Nah, it's going to need a little bit of persuasion. Now originally they had a big rivet through here, but I drilled them out. So I've got some grade 8, 3/8, what are they? 3/8 UNF bolts to go all the way through. And also some grade 8 5/16 to go through here on the other side. And I'm using a nylock nut on the back so that they don't spin off while you're driving along. Duh. I might have to go and get some sockets to do this up. Yeah, I'll have to go get a socket set. That makes it a bit easier. Okay, well, I haven't done that completely up. Now I'll do this one up all the way, and then I'll come back and do this one because it's got to pull it into the side of the chassis. Okay. You might see me using my left hand a lot lately. That's because I've hurt this hand and I've lost a lot of strength in my right hand. So I'm favouring my left hand instead. It does make things difficult when you're right-handed though. Okay, so I'll do this 9/16 head one here. Wow, that's tight. That's tight. All right, from here I've got some little hangers that come down and that spring just comes up to there and there's 2 bolts that run through it. So there's a couple of plates here and I've already greased here and here and here and here. Like I said, And these plates go on the outside here, and then these bolts go through them. Now the bolts are greasable bolts, with a nipple on them, just like the front ones, and a knurl. So they'll bite into the plate, and that knurl will stop that end from moving. And what way should the bolt go through? This way or this way? Now, I'm thinking this way. They're going to fight me all the way. I'm trying to guide the two bolts in evenly. It's proven hard. I don't ever remember this being hard when I assembled the car before. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Might just stop the camera and try and figure out what's going on. So where the problem was, there was a bit of paint, a bit of this miracle paint in the hole, and it was just making it difficult. So there's just a 7/8 on the inside here and a 11/16 this time on the outside. And again, I can't spin this side because of that knurl there, which is going to push its way into that hole. So what I think I'm going to do again is put a bit of anti-seize on this so I can undo it at a later date if I need to. I'll just give that a clean and put some anti-seize on it. And with a few twists of a spanner, that's done. So I guess I've got to get this side done now. I'll just do this side off camera. And there you have it. The rear elliptic springs are both in. I guess what I've got to do now is put the diff in. Well, there it is. The chassis is back on the ground. Off all these rotisserie things I've been using. And now we can push it back around the floor. Look how low that's sitting in the front. Anyway, you all know it's not going to stay like that and jacked up in the rear because there's just no weight in the rear there. So it seems now I can get this body on. And that is a severe rake though. wonder how I'll go getting this body on with that so raked. Might have to put something in there to just bring that front up, maybe a few blocks of wood or something. Well, it's getting a little bit later in the afternoon, but I still want to see if I can get this cab onto my chassis over there. So I'm just going to put this on time lapse and see if it works. You'll see what I'm going to come up with. I'm going to extend my wheels here, make the front end back a lot longer, jack it up as high as I can and try and wheel the chassis underneath this cab. Let's see how far I get. Well, the body's on. Man, that took some time. And I've made a big mess as well. The other thing is, that was really sketchy. Even my wife came out and went, "What are you doing?" And just went, "You're on your own." Anyway, the body's on. I haven't done up the bolts, they're just loose. I'll wait till, you know, there's a tray on and we got the front suspension in so that it lifts it up. You can certainly see that rake on it now. It's all a little bit silly really, isn't it? We'll do up those bolts a little bit later. We'll get some suspension in the front there, a tray in the back, and keep moving along. Anyway, that's it for this video, and you guys have a good rest of your day. Me, I gotta pack up. It's dark outside. See yous.